You're standing outside your cave and it's 40 degrees below freezing. No jacket, no fire yet, just bare skin and body hair that stopped doing its job long ago. The wind cuts through you in seconds. 10 minutes at this temperature, hypothermia sets in. Yet, your ancestors didn't just survive nights like this. They lived through entire ice ages, thousands of years of brutal winters, with nothing but stone tools and raw ingenuity. So how did a hairless tropical ape make it through the deadliest winters on Earth? Let's go back 20,000 years, the peak of the last ice age. Geologists call it the Last Glacial Maximum. Ice sheets 2 miles thick covered most of North America and Northern Europe. Sea levels dropped 400 feet. Average temperatures sat 10 degrees Celsius below today. Siberia in January could hit minus 60. Humans lived through this. Not for one winter, for 20,000 years. The first breakthrough wasn't fire, it was clothing. In 2003, biologist Mark Stoneking studied human body lice. Body lice only live in clothing, not on skin. Comparing head lice and body lice DNA, his team calculated when humans started wearing clothes, around 170,000 years ago. Right when humans began leaving Africa for colder lands, but early clothing was crude, wrapped hides, draped over the shoulders. Warm but not warm enough for Siberia, the real leap came with the needle. At Denisova Cave in Siberia, archaeologists found a bone needle with an eye, dated to around 50,000 years old. This wasn't for wrapping fur, this was for sewing it, fitting it to the body, sealing every gap where wind could get in. Compare that to the Neanderthals who lived in Europe through the same cold. Researcher Mark Sorensen studied their toolkits across dozens of sites and found almost no fine hide scrapers and no needles. Neanderthals likely wore draped pelts, not tailored suits. Homo sapiens showed up wearing something closer to a fitted parka. That difference in a garment may have decided which species kept expanding north and which one didn't. At Sungir, in Russia, archaeologists uncovered a 34,000-year-old burial. 2 children, laid head to head, covered in over 10,000 ivory beads. Each bead took about 45 minutes to carve by hand. That's over 7,000 hours of labor for one burial. Researchers found the beads had been sewn onto fitted clothing. Trousers, shirts, even boots decorated head to toe. This wasn't decoration for its own sake. This was proof of tailored, insulated clothing good enough to bury the dead in, mid-glacial winter. Clothing alone wasn't enough. You also needed shelter that didn't need trees, because on the open tundra of Ukraine and Russia, there were no trees left standing. At Mezhyrich in Ukraine, archaeologists found circular dwellings built from the bones of at least 60 mammoths. Skulls stacked as a foundation, tusks arched overhead as a frame, hides stretched across the top. One structure alone used the remains of dozens of animals. These weren't temporary tents. They were engineered, permanent winter housing, built from the only large material on a frozen plain. Then there was food. A human in a warm climate needs 2,000 calories a day. In extreme cold, that number climbs past 4,000, sometimes 5,000, just to keep the body's furnace running. Mammoth fat solved that problem. A single mammoth could provide months of stored fat and protein, enough calories to keep 25 people alive through the darkest stretch. At Dolní Věstonice, in the modern Czech Republic, archaeologists found thousands of mammoth bones. Evidence of communities who hunted, stored, and rationed kills across an entire cold season. And they didn't do it alone. At Dolní Věstonice, archaeologists also found ceramic kilns dating back 26,000 years, among the oldest fired ceramics on Earth. Alongside them, carved Venus figurines and evidence of large communal fires used by dozens at once. Surviving a glacial winter wasn't a solo project. It required groups large enough to hunt cooperatively, share food fairly, and pass down specific skills. Sewing, tanning, fire building that kept everyone alive until spring. Neanderthals, for all their strength and cold-adapted bodies, disappeared around 40,000 years ago, right as glacial conditions intensified across Europe. Homo sapiens, arriving later and less cold adapted, kept expanding north instead. The difference wasn't raw toughness. It was technology, tailored clothing, engineered shelter, stored fat reserves, and large cooperative groups holding it all together. Every one of those Ice Age winters should have killed us. Every single one had the numbers stacked against a hairless ape. But a sewn parka, a mammoth bone hut, a shared fire, and 45 minutes spent carving one ivory bead at a time, that was enough. Not because our ancestors were tougher than the cold, because they were smarter than it.